The India AI Summit begins on Monday, bringing together over 135 countries at a time when artificial intelligence is reshaping global power. Joining us is a man leading India's ambitious AI push, the CEO of the India AI Mission, Abhishek Singh. Welcome to the print. With over 15,000 registrations and participation from 135 plus countries, expectations are enormous. When the summit concludes on the 20th, what tangible outcomes should the world expect beyond declarations and partnerships?
Thank you. But first of all, if I can use your phrase of cutting the clutter, I would say it's not 15,000 registrations, it's 170,000 registrations till date that we have had. And we have participation, we have people coming from all over the world. We have the almost 20 heads of government coming in. We have more than 60 other ministers coming in. We have almost every top global tech CEO who will be present for the summit. The top researchers are coming for the summit. Leaders from civil society organizations who are an important stakeholder when it comes to AI, building responsible AI, they all will be here. So what we are trying to do, the outcomes, the objectives, the reasons because of which India is hosting the summit are basically three broad reasons. Number one, the first such summit to be hosted in the global country, the global south, a developing country. The previous three summits have been in Bletchley Park in UK, South Korea, Seoul, and the last summit which we co-chaired with France was in Paris, the French Action Summit. So given that the first summit, the developing country is hosting, what we are wanting to do is that how do we ensure that the voice of the global majority, the voice of the global south, the voice of the developing world gets a place at the high table of AI, because AI, as you know, is primarily limited to a few countries and a few companies. So, in order to democratize AI, in order to ensure access to compute, to datasets, to algorithms, and to have a say with regard to regulating AI, this summit will play a big role. The country, the global south, look at India with trust because they have seen our DPI story. At the end of G20, many of these countries looked at adopting DPIs in their own countries. So, based on that, we are trying to position India as a voice of the global south and ensure that AI is developed in a form which is more inclusive, which is more participative. That's the first objective that we have. Number two, what we are trying to do is that India has been known as a talent superpower. We are known for our human talent who are part of almost every engineering company which is building AI, or Indian companies have been implementing tech projects across the world. Within India, we have used technology to transform public services through the India stack and the digital public infrastructure. So, what we are trying to showcase is position India as a leading AI service provider to the whole world. If you look at Stanford AI Index, it rates India as number one country in skill penetration. Look at GitHub AI repository, we contribute the maximum number of projects to the GitHub AI repository when it comes to AI. So what we want to do position is that if any country is thinking of building an AI application, if any country is looking for AI talent, if anybody is wanting to build agentic AI to integrate with their legacy AI system, they should look to India. If any country is looking at edge AI, if anyone is wanting to go to autonomous system, physical AI, they should look to India. So positioning India as the leading AI service provider of the world is another objective that we have. Third, what we have is that even though we have a lot of talent in India, a lot of our talent leaves for the West to work for these big tech companies or to go for universities, and then they go and then they incorporate companies there because getting funds there is easy, and then they incorporate the IP in the valley and elsewhere. So that way India doesn't gain even though the work actually has been done by Indians. So what we are trying to do is that given opportunity, attract funds, attract VCs. We have come out with schemes like RDI, which is promoting research and development, the Deep Tech Startup Fund of Funds, the India AI Mission, the Quantum Mission. So, in a way, we are trying to attract talent back to India and trying to get the VCs and funds to invest in Indian minds and Indian startups so that these young minds will be able to incorporate their companies within India and create IP here, which will lead to creating a lot of value within India. So these are broadly the three objectives that we have, and we are working towards achievement of all these three objectives at the summit.
Uh, so my second question is very connected to whatever you said right now. You know how India is positioning itself as a voice for the global south in terms of AI governance. But in a landscape that is largely shaped by the US and China, what real leverage does India then have according to global standards?
See, the model that India has, of course, US and China are much ahead. India is
Mm-hmm.
number three, and we are on the AI vibrancy index as rated by Stanford there. But the way India has adopted AI, the model that we have, like for example, India is a multilingual country, multicultural country. So we implemented a project called Bhashini, which has enabled speech to speech, speech to text to text
Mm-hmm.
translation. These APIs are there, and then the models that we are building in, what Sarvam is building, what Bharat Jain is building, what Gyani is building, what Socket is building, these are primarily language models. And given that we have the diversity of language, creating datasets in our languages, creating a platform like AI Kosh
Mm-hmm.
that we did to ensure that datasets are available, which people can use to train, enabling access to compute that we have done in India AI Mission, where compute is available at a very, very low cost, funding Indian foundation models. So these are examples which the global south is looking at, because they also face a similar challenge, because all the Western models, the frontier AI models, they all are trained on data sets of the West. They're primarily trained on English data sets. So if a country in, say, Africa, or a country in the global south, they want to have a model which is trained in their own language or their own cultural context, they have an example to look at India. And given the trust that we have built it with, especially our digital public infrastructure, to look at the DPI story, the MOSIP project, the identity project, is being replicated in 29 countries. So, a lot of countries in the global south look at India with a lot of trust, and the trust that we have built with our DPI story and the model that we have of replicate of implementing AI in India is something that will attract the country to the global south.
Thank you so much for that, sir. That brings me to my third question. So, India successfully built infrastructure for Aadhaar and UPI, right? But AI is a different ballgame altogether. So, what all structural vulnerabilities and gaps do you see where you have to work, or what is emerging along the way?
See, the biggest challenge for building AI is that you need three things for building AI
Hmm.
model, training AI models or building AI applications: talent, compute, and data sets. We are very high on talent when it comes
Hmm.
to like number of engineering graduates that we produce, a number of software developers that we have, or number of people with AI skills that is there. We are pretty high on that count.
Hmm.
The real challenge, if you see what kept us behind till last year, was not having compute infrastructure available and not having data sets easily available for uh, training AI models and developing AI applications. So with the India AI mission, which is approved in March of 2024, what we have tried to do is to create a framework in which compute infrastructure becomes available. So from a time when, like a year back, we had around 600 GPUs which was available. Today we have around 38,000 GPUs which are available at the lowest price globally at only 65 rupees, because we are subsidizing up to the extent of 40%. This we have made available. We have solved the problem to some extent. Though for a country of our size and magnitude, we'll need much more GPUs. But the process has been set in,
Hmm.
and over time the GPU capacity will also expand. That has been put in place. The second thing is about data sets. So we have built a platform called AI Kosh, on which we are populating datasets. Today we have 7,500 datasets there. As we go forward, this will also expand. So the infrastructure bottlenecks that were there have been addressed to some extent with the help of AI mission. And once you make datasets available, when you make compute available, the talented engineers will go ahead and train models like what Sarvam and Bharat Jain are doing. And as we go forward, we'll see a lot of use cases across sectors, whether it's healthcare, with agriculture, with education, whether supply chain logistics, whether it's manufacturing. So these use cases will come in. So we will be able to definitely catch up with the best in the world and maybe leapfrog to go ahead.
Hopefully. So, governments across the world are talking about ethical AI right now because we see so many problems coming up with AI. So, what enforcement mechanisms and not just advisory framework is India prepared to commit to? And of course, we've been seeing a lot of frameworks coming in through amendments, through a lot of amendments in IT rules. The most recent one being on deepfakes, but industry is not very ready to comply to it perhaps, and they do think that it might be infringement on their working as well, and they might have to also adapt their own infrastructure for India in a different way. So how do you deal with these challenges and the challenge of ethical AI?
See, one thing though, like there are no two questions about it. With any industry which is operating in India,
Hmm.
whichever sector they are in, they have to abide by the law of the land. You don't have a choice when it comes to compliance with the legal framework of a sovereign country. So that point is is settled. There's no debate about that. Number two, what we our approach towards AI has been to prioritize innovation over restraint. But what we do is that we regulate only stuff that can cause user harm. We look at it a lens of the user harm, and in this context, like for example, deep fakes or misinformation or AI generated content that can lead to child sexual abuse, or that can lead to harassment or through pornography or to public order or through national security. These are the things that will be regulated, and for that we have provisions under the law, and the provisions which were notified yesterday were also primarily towards that objective only, to ensure that if somebody is doing similar to what Grok did, and then if you take that content off after 36 hours, damage is done.
Hmm.
You can't like undo the reputational loss or the harassment an individual has gone through. So if the law is not meeting the requirements of the times that we live in, the law needs to be strengthened, the law needs to be uh, tightened. So that's what the present amendments have done, that if anything comes into that category, and this not applies to minor variations using AI, this applies to only specific cases which have been flagged there, that has to be done within, action has to be taken within 3 hours. And technically, while some may say that it can't be done in 3 hours, but it's what they're saying is not correct. It is possible technologically to do it within that time. In fact, I would say that it can actually be brought lower. In fact, it can be done instantly. And as we were discussing prior to this conversation, was that when you, well, suppose I'm watching a cricket match and I click a video of Virat Kohli making 100 and I put it
Hmm.
on my Instagram or on my YouTube, the platforms will immediately take it down because of copyright violations, because BCCI or somebody else would
Hmm.
be having the copyright to it. If I post a song or a video, it's again taken off. And these actions the platforms take on their own volition. There's no complaint that is necessary for doing that. Because technically, there are capabilities which sees whether the content we posted is original, or whether the person who posted has copyright or not, or if somebody else had copyright. So that metadata level of analysis, technical analysis, the technology companies who are supposed to be the one of the best when it comes to AI, they do have that ability. It's only that when you bring in with a legal provision, they will comply. So our entire approach towards regulation has been light touch regulation, a
Hmm.
techno legal approach to regulation, have the legal framework, building technology tools to ensure that compliance is ensured, and ensure that we are able to build ethical AI, we are able to build responsible AI that primarily is targeted towards larger social good.
So, another question that I have is that AI is expected to significantly disrupt labor markets, right? Like, on my way here, I was watching this interview of Microsoft AI head to Financial Times, and he was saying that lawyers or accountants, all of these jobs can be AI automated, and these jobs will be obsolete in 12 to 18 months. That might be an exaggerated timeline, but it's true. It'll eventually happen. What do you see? How is India going to deal with this?
See, any technological innovation
Hmm.
historically does lead to disruption of some jobs. Like, for example, when automobiles came in,
Hmm.
the chariots and the horse chariots and the people who used to operate them, they lost their jobs. We have seen what happened to the STD booths. There was a time when India was full of STD booths across, but with mobile phones, they are no longer there. Before digital photography became a thing and everybody became a photographer and sharing photographs, the entire labs which were there where people used to
Hmm.
get photos printed, they have kind of really, the dark rooms and the labs are no longer there. So similarly, AI will impact some jobs, but the AI will also create new jobs. And I strongly believe is that the opportunities that AI will create, like any other technology historically, has will be much more than the jobs that will be impacted. And again, as somebody told me, that AI doesn't take away anybody's jobs.
Hmm.
People with AI skills will take away jobs of people without AI skills. So we will need to focus very strongly in skilling, in reskilling, on upskilling, upgrading the curriculum in our
Hmm.
colleges, not only in engineering colleges but across disciplines, because AI cuts across disciplines.
Okay.
It's not that AI is confined to only engineers and not into medicine or law or commerce or liberal arts. AI is cuts across. So we'll need to ensure that we give sufficient skills to our youth and enterprise so that they are able to take up the jobs. And which are the jobs that will come in? As I mentioned, agentic AI will be a big thing. Edge AI will be a big thing. Physical AI will be a big thing. Data science will be a big thing. Data annotation, data tagging, data scientists. So there are multiple job roles that will come in. And in fact, the most sought after job roles today is forward deployment engineers.
Hmm.
So India has the opportunity of becoming the go-to place of forward deployment engineers. Only thing is that business cannot be as usual. There will be some jobs like entry level software jobs might be competing with $20 bots. Those jobs will be impacted. But if these entry level software developers, they arm themselves with these coding agents and become better versions of themselves, they will have many other opportunities with higher incomes to explore.
Hmm. So one of my last questions is that, a lot of big tech CEOs are coming. Like you said, a lot of government people are coming in, big government people, and, all these big names, everything that we had just watched, we had just heard online, are now coming to Delhi, to Bharat Mandapam, right? And they are going to be here. So, and this also is coming amidst a lot of geopolitical tension, as we see. So firstly, how do you, also reconcile the fact that these people are coming in to invest and not to capture or regularize our own markets? And also, this also comes amidst, a lot of like innovation. People have this entire concern that there will be surveillance, there will be privacy issues, there will be infringement on civil liberties because of AI. So, how do you reconcile both of these things with so many big names coming in?
See, the big names are coming in because they see potential in India.
Hmm.
They see most of these companies which are coming in, they have their development centers within India. Most of these companies have a significant number of workforce in their own teams, which are people of Indian origin. So they are primarily attracted, number one, by the talent that we have.
Hmm.
Second attraction that they have is they are looking at the Indian market. That they see that India has the largest number of population, and the number of if they have to monetize the investment that they're making, they will have to look at India. That's every big tech company looks at. Number three, they're also looking at India's capacity not only in building applications but also in infrastructure. For example, we have the maximum number of energy sources which are available for powering AI compute. The cost of building a data center in India is a fraction of the cost of building a data center in the West or in the Middle East. So whether it's when Google
Hmm.
announces a $15 billion investment, or Microsoft announces a $17.5 billion investment, or Amazon announces a $35 billion investment, it's primarily targeted towards ensuring that they will be able to generate revenues for their global operations. So it's not that the entire revenue will come out only from India. And most of these companies are not coming here for surveillance. They are business companies. They are coming in for their profit motives. They have shareholders for whom they have to create value. So India, with its low data center costs and with the low inference, with the low with the easy availability of energy and the easy availability of talent, has the potential to emerge as the inferencing capital when it comes to AI. So AI inferencing capital, and that's why many companies will think of moving their AI workloads to India. And we have a very strong legal framework, especially with the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which ensures that personal data is protected.
Hmm.
We also came up in the recent budget, the announcements which kind of provides the tax incentives to those who are setting up data centers in India and running their operations elsewhere. So, for example, if Google has a data center in India and they are running their AI services globally from these data centers, their tax implications have been simplified, have been made very clear what will the safe harbor norms that will apply to them. So the policy clarity, the policy level support, legal clarity, having a framework which kind of incentivizes investment and the opportunities that the global companies are seeing, that is what is attracting them to India. And I see this growing multifold. In fact, I expect announcements that will be much more than what we have seen so far. And I see a big momentum coming in India with the advent of these companies, as also Indian homegrown AI companies, which will lead to creating a lot of economic value and creation of jobs.
So, do you see India as an independent technological power or like a strategic middle player?
See, we are such a country which allows big tech to function. Unlike some other countries which are our neighbors who have blocked the big tech companies, we don't believe in that. But we strongly believe that while we allow big tech companies to operate in India, we also will build up our capacities. And some of our companies, like for example, Servam, which has been releasing their models last week, their whether it's Servam Dub or whether Servam Arya,
Hmm.
they have been performing much better than the benchmarks on compared to Google's Gemini or to OpenAI's models. So we do have the capability. We will welcome the international players, but at the same time, we do believe that we have the strength and the capability of develop our own solutions and compete with the best in the world.
And at that note, that's all. Thanks for watching The Print.